I, 32, female, put my parents in a very difficult situation, and right now the entire family is upset with me. But I don't really think I did anything wrong. To be honest, I had no idea that my actions would have such negative repercussions. It all started a couple of weeks ago when I was having dinner with my family, and my brother also happened to be there. He and I don't really get along, and I usually have a separate dinner with my family. But this time, my parents insisted on me being there because my brother was engaged to his long-term girlfriend, and they wanted me to be there so we could all have dinner together as a family with her and her family. I was not very happy about it, but I didn't have a problem with his fiancée. So I decided to agree to the dinner, and that's where it all went down. My brother has a tendency to put people down. He's very arrogant, and that's how he's always been. He's 27, 5 years younger than me, but growing up, he had always been the golden child for my parents. So I had to try extra hard to impress them, and believe me, it was pretty hard because my parents are both overachievers. Both of them went to business school, worked their way to the top, and then, when they had saved up enough money, they decided to start their own business. I was around 7 years old when they made the leap, and my brother was just 2 years old back then, but we remember how hard they worked. Then, the company eventually started doing quite well, and our lifestyle got even better. So, even though I was never the golden child like my brother, my parents already made sure I had the best of everything, and I always felt obligated to return the favor to them by making something of myself. And of course, the fact that my brother was always putting me down, trying to bully me in spite of being younger and always getting away with it, also pushed me to work hard. I had always been interested in the medical sciences, so I went to medical school. Long story short, after a lot of hard work, I'm an oncologist now. So obviously my parents sent a lot of money to educate me properly, and it was a worthwhile investment because I've always strived to be at the top of my class and have always managed to retain that position. I've always been a good student, and they assumed I would make a lot of money in future, so it was all worth it. I understand that. They understand that. But what I didn't understand is that decision to rewrite their will, to leave everything to my brother because they thought I wouldn't need anything in the future. But that was not what I ended up being upset about. It was just the fact that I was being left out of something as monumental as their will. Since I was getting nothing but a fraction of my mom's jewelry, while my brother was getting company shares, all their money and every other asset. It just seemed very disproportionate and unfair, and it came out in a very weird way, because during dinner he was, as usual, picking on me. He kept bragging about his job, which was not even worth bragging about because he was working for our parents. So it's not like he had to work very hard to get that job. And I'm guessing that he possibly beat our other candidates who actually deserved it because, if I'm being honest, even though he went to business school, just like my parents did, he was never very good at any of that. And my parents were quite disappointed about it because they had thought that he would have business acumen like they did, but he didn't. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that the real reason my parents hired him to work for them was that they could keep an eye on him and that he would not end up working anywhere, and eventually he could take over the company after a lot of training. So that's what was going on, and he just kept picking on me regarding my job because I'm still in a junior position and he's one of the senior positions at his company, which again, it's not that special because it's literally our parents' company. And I'm in the medical field. I can't expect people to serve me everything on a silver platter just because of who my parents are. But I didn't want to fight with him. I tried to keep my cool, but eventually it just got too much for me to handle. So I lost it. And I snapped at him and told him that at least I was not working for my parents simply because they didn't want me working anywhere else and embarrassing them, because I was too stupid to make it anywhere else without my parents helping me out at every step. And I had been holding back for quite a while, so when it came out, it was quite venomous. He couldn't take that insult, especially in front of his fiancée. So then he started talking about how at least he was the preferred child, unlike me, who was unwanted and unloved, because otherwise why would our parents be leaving everything to him? He started bragging about that. And I was very confused because, as far as I was concerned, my parents had not created a will yet. Or at least none that I knew of, but the longer he spoke about all that, the more my parents tried to get him to shut up. I began to figure things out, and by the end of the argument, I had put two and two together. I didn't waste my time, and I didn't even care that my brother's fiancée and her family were there. I confronted my parents right there at dinner. I asked them if he was being truthful, and after trying to deny it for a couple of seconds, they eventually had to come clean, because my brother kept telling me that he had seen the will and he knew what he was talking about, and that my parents were only trying to deny it to spare my feelings. And at that point in time, even I believed that they were probably lying to spare my feelings. And I ended up storming out after telling them that I was really hurt and that I was not going to let this go because I was equally entitled to this inheritance, and I was not going to let my brother walk away with it entirely. After that, my parents made several attempts to contact me, calling me, texting me, and sending me emails, saying that the only reason they had left me out of the mail was because they were worried about my brother, since he was not really doing well at anything. He was always very distracted. He didn't seem to be taking his job too seriously, just like he hadn't taken his education very seriously, and that's why they had left most of it to him. They told me that they were not worried about me because they knew that I was cleverer than my brother, that I would be able to make something of myself with or without their help, and that they had faith in me. But that did not help the situation at all. It just made me feel worse. So after a while, I decided to speak to an attorney who specializes in estate law. And unfortunately, I learned that I couldn't exactly challenge the will before any of my parents passed away. But I definitely could request to look into the financial records, because I have a right to know, since the evaluation of the assets, particularly from their company, which is their main source of money, might make a huge difference in my life. And because my brother is in a senior position in the company, I could even make it seem like he was manipulating finances or something, just to paint him to be a questionable figure in the company so I can get my way. And it was not the best thing to do. But at the time, because of the way I had been snubbed, I was not above doing all these things. At that point in time, I only wanted what was rightfully mine, by hook or by crook. So I went ahead and did everything that my lawyer suggested. And through him, I demanded an audit of the financial records of the company, and my parents tried to block it. That seemed a bit suspicious, because if they had nothing to hide, why even block it? And I'm guessing that this seemed like a shady move to the IRS as well, because this is why they stepped in and started an investigation against the company. And as it turns out, the reasons my parents did not want an audit of the financial records was because the IRS had already been looking for an excuse to start an investigation against them, and this just gave them the perfect reason. And they are in trouble because they've been evading taxes for years now, and they owe thousands and thousands of dollars. And now, thanks to my move, it's all out in the open. But for whatever reason, my parents and my brother and the rest of the family are all blaming me for this, as if I'm the one who told them to do all of it. I'm just the reason that they got caught. I know that actually I shouldn't be beating myself up about it, but I feel like I got too greedy and what I did was not right. I don't know. I just feel like a horrible person right now because I feel like I ruined my parents' reputation, and in a way, I screwed up my own family's reputation. I just feel extremely responsible for everything that's going on right now. My parents are in a lot of trouble, and everybody in the family seems to hate me at the moment. Not just one side of the family, both sides. I don't know. I just feel horrible now. AITA for exposing my parents for tax fraud. Update 1. Hey, thank you so much to everybody who commented on my post and was very kind to me, given the way my life has been going. I thought that even here people are going to start blaming me, but thankfully people were much more rational and reasonable. And yeah, it means a lot to me, especially right now because I feel like I have nobody on my side at the moment. The news of my parents has reached my hospital as well. And even though nobody has said or done anything, I've been receiving a lot of looks from my colleagues, especially the ones I don't really talk to. I wouldn't say that I don't get along with them, but I just don't interact a lot with them. So these people have been giving me a lot of strange looks, and I would be able to tolerate it if they were sympathetic in nature, but nothing about them screams sympathy. I already knew that most of the people around me thought that I was some privileged brat who got her way and simply on the basis of how rich my parents are, completely disregarding my own hard work. And this has just made it 10 times worse. Because now I can literally see on their faces that they don't respect me and that they don't like me. I would never deny the fact that I'm a very privileged individual, possibly more so than people who work with me, because a lot of them had to work 2 jobs to be able to cover their education, alongside student loans. And I really respect how hard they have worked for it. I know that I don't even hold a candle to them, but even then, whatever I'm going through right now is not easy. I know I probably sound like I'm crying over nothing, but it's just difficult for me to accept this. My parents are obviously not speaking to me anymore. They haven't for a long time, and the rest of the family has also cut me off. I was supposed to attend a wedding in the family a couple of days back, but at the last minute, I received a message from my aunt telling me that it would be best for me to stay away for now, at least until things cool down. But I got the message. I can understand that people in the family don't want me around because even though it was my parents who were actually committing tax fraud, I am somehow the villain for accelerating the process of it being discovered. None of it makes any sense to me, but I can't do anything to help it anymore either. So I'm just trying to deal with it. Thankfully, my real-life friends have been more helpful. They have been there for me, and I'm glad I have some sort of support from them. Update 2. Hi, so a lot of people are confused as to how my colleagues found out, and well, that was because this made the local news. And I'm guessing that they took note of the fact that it was my parents who were involved only because they knew me. Anyway, it's been a couple of days and I'm trying not to let it get to me. I'm still getting stared at and I'm still getting strange looks from people, but my boss has told me that I shouldn't let anyone get to me. And then I should just keep my head up because after all, I was not involved with them. I don't have anything to do with these people, so I don't need to worry about any of it. And I just have to keep my chin up, and thankfully I have a couple of friends at my workplace and they have made it much easier for me. So I'm very grateful for what I have, and I'm also slowly coming to terms with the fact that I'm probably never going to have anything to do with my family again because I just can't trust them again. I have thought about it long and hard, and I have been thinking about trying to talk to them. I don't know, for whatever reason. I just thought that I would probably try to sort things out with them, but then I realized that there was no point in trying to sort it out with them. Because at the end of the day, this has been going on for a very, very long time. And I'm not just talking about the tax evasion thing. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. But in reality, they have been treating me like the black sheep of the family for way too long for me to be taking it anymore. I was just so starved for love and affection from my parents, for some sort of validation from them, that I was ready to face whatever it took. And like a total fool, even after all this that had happened, I was considering going back with them and trying to talk to them. What would that even bring me? At the end of the day, they are criminals, and I don't want anything to do with them. I shouldn't be going up to them and apologizing to them for whatever I did. What I had done was out of self-preservation. And yes, maybe a little bit of greed, but I don't care about that, because when you keep giving everything to one kid and keep ignoring the other regardless of what the other one does, I think things like this are bound to happen. I mean, let's be real. How long was I going to keep up with this? How long did they expect me to keep taking blows without ever trying to hit back? And even this time, I was not even trying to hit back at them. I was just trying to hit back at my brother. I wanted to get him into some sort of trouble so I would have an excuse to get my rightful share of the inheritance. Because it was not fair for him to walk away with everything. I wasn't even trying to hurt my parents, even though I should have been trying to hurt them, because they're the ones who've always shunned me. Parents who've always preferred my brother over me for literally no reason, because I've always been better than him at everything and I've always tried to outdo him just to be able to get the same kind of love and affection that he does. And yet nothing has ever been enough for my parents. Literally not one thing has ever impressed them enough for them to love me the same way they love my brother. I just couldn't take it anymore. So I snapped and I decided to go after him for the inheritance, because he was the one who had been bragging about it. He was the one who actually led me to find out, so if anything, shouldn't they be blaming him instead of me? Because if he had not been picking on me at that dinner, if he had not brought it all up, then none of this would even have been happening. They could have lived with their comfortable lives without getting caught. And I would have never known about any of this. I could have lived in ignorance. Anyway, I'm very thankful that I have come to my senses now, because up until now, I was still considering the fact that maybe I could make things right with my parents at some point in time. Maybe I could talk to them and fix things. But recently, I just realized that I was thinking like such a complete total fool. Because they seem to be getting by really well without me. They don't seem to care about me at all. And that has always been the case. Even in the past, it had always been me who had been going out of my way to maintain my relationship with them. And they would only invite me to stuff out of obligation, but nothing else. They only wanted people to think that we were one strong, united family of overachievers. Because for them, how we were perceived was very important. That's why they even gave my brother that job, because they wanted people to perceive him as somebody intellectual, somebody competent, like the rest of our family, even though he was not. In fact, in the true sense of the word, even though he's the one who went to business school, I think he's the one who's the real black sheep of the family. But it doesn't matter to my parents, because he was always the golden child for them. And no matter what he does, he can never be wrong. And I, no matter what I do, will never be special to them. So I decided that after this, there was no way I was ever going to go back to them. I don't have to fix anything. I think the fact that I'm not a part of their family anymore, because they clearly don't talk to me or anything, is good enough for me. That is how my life is going to be fixed, by not having any contact with them, because I think I have tried hard enough to get some sort of validation from them. But let's be real, I think I'm doing much better in my life than they are. At least I'm not a tax criminal. At least I've always been very honest in everything that I've done. And that's something that they will never be able to take away from me. So, they might not like me. They might not respect me. But at least I know who I am, and that's good enough for me. It was my need for validation that screwed a lot of things up. But I don't need that anymore. I don't need validation from criminals. So yeah, it feels good to get this all off my chest. And I feel much better now after talking about all of it. For the next couple of days, I think I'm just going to focus on my work, and I'm probably going to take a vacation or something because I think I really need it. I could do with it. I just need to take my mind off of everything. Update 3. Hi, so it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and even though I haven't been following whatever has been going on with my parents and their company, I did hear from a couple of friends that they've decided to sell 49% of company shares to pay off whatever they owe the government. Thanks to their expert team of lawyers, they have been able to avoid jail time quite narrowly. So I guess at least something good worked out in their favor, but I'm not sure who's even going to get involved in this mess right now and end up buying the company's shares. Their credibility in the market right now is absolutely zero, at least from what I've figured out. But I wished him all the best. I hope that they're able to get out of this unscathed, because I don't want that kind of thing on my conscience. I wish I could be the kind of person who would say that I would wish nothing but ill for them, but I'm not. I genuinely wish that they're able to get out of this. Anyway, another thing I found out about was that my brother's fiancée had called off the engagement. He has not issued any statement yet, but he has deactivated all his social media accounts, and it was just his fiancée who put out a statement a couple of days back saying that they had decided to take a break from each other given everything that was going on with his family, and that he really needed some space and time right now. I have no idea who actually initiated the break or whatever it is, but I really don't think that it would be my brother's fiancée, because from whatever I know of her, she's a really sweet girl, and she's absolutely head over heels in love with my brother. She always has been. She's been friends with him since high school, and even then, whenever she and the rest of my brother's friends came over for his birthdays, I could see that she had a thing for him, but he never noticed it until both of them were in college. She followed him to college as well, and even her parents are quite wealthy. So I don't think that the financial aspect of these things has anything to do with the breakup. To be honest, I don't really know what's going on with them, but I feel bad for his ex-fiancée because she was a sweet girl. And to be honest, I always thought that she was way too good for him because unlike him, even though she had only gone to business school to be around him, which she confessed much later, she turned out to be much better at business than he was, and has her own venture now. So I don't think she cares that he's not very successful and is in trouble now. I think she would be the kind of woman to stick it out with him. But I'm guessing that things have been way too much for my brother because he always has been very mentally weak. And maybe that's why they are taking a break. But again, that's just a theory. And I don't really know the truth. But as soon as I do, I'll let you guys know. Update 4. So it's been a couple of days since my last update, and I found out what had been going on between my brother and fiancé. Apparently I pretty much nailed it with my theory because that's exactly what happened. My brother was finding it way too hard to accept that his parents had been doing all of this, and that even he's in trouble because of them. He's not speaking to our parents anymore, which must be hard for them, because he was their darling son, and now even he doesn't want to talk to them. And I'm obviously not a part of the picture anymore, so they don't even have a backup kid to fall back on. As for how I found out the truth of the situation with my brother and his fiancée, it was quite easy. Actually, I just spoke to a couple of people from my high school, and because my brother and I went to the same school, even though we were 5 years apart, gossip does go around when things like this happen. So what I'm guessing is that the poor girl must have confided in somebody who decided to blab about it to somebody else, and that's how people have found out what went down. So yeah, it's unfortunate, not just for my parents or my brother, but for everybody involved. But it doesn't matter anymore, at least not to me. I'm moving on with my life, and I've decided to take a couple of days off so I can travel. I haven't had the opportunity to take a break in quite a while, so I think this is the perfect time for me to take off. And I've also decided to give romance a chance, because I've been shutting it out for quite a while, but now I don't think I need to do that anymore. I was just so busy focusing on my work, on my education, on everything else to make myself successful enough for my parents to respect, that I forgot about everything else. One of my closest friends told me last year that he really likes me and that he would want to take me out for a date sometime. Apparently he had liked me for a very long time, ever since we were in our first year of medical school, but he had never been able to work up the courage to tell me because I was just so focused and determined to make something of myself and surpass my parents that he didn't think I would entertain the idea of going out with anyone seriously. A couple of days here and there, a few flings, that was all that worked for me. But I didn't want to get distracted by a relationship, so even last year I had told him that he was right, that I didn't have the time for a relationship, and that I really valued and cherished our friendship. But deep down, I always had a soft corner for the guy. We've been friends, but recently it was I who asked him out. And I asked him to accompany me on the trip that I was about to take. He agreed, and I guess I'm making a good decision because in the past year I've started to develop feelings for him as well, so I really hope that this works out. For now, though, I'm going to take a break, a much needed one, and I hope to come back rejuvenated and refreshed after all of that. Update 5. Hey people, so I guess the break that I intended to take turned out to be a bit too long because it's been 3 years now, but my life has changed for the better and I'm really happy with how everything has turned out. I mentioned a friend who was slightly more than a friend in my last update here, and well, he's my fiancé now. And in a couple of weeks, he's going to be my husband. So yes, things worked out for the best, and I'm really glad I gave life a chance. I also quit my job at the hospital, and I decided to start a private practice. It's been going well so far, and I have to say, it's a lot less stressful. As for my parents, I don't know what they've been up to, but I know that they ended up selling more than 49% of the company's shares to stabilize things. But they're still going to be able to maintain their lifestyle now that they don't have to worry about my brother or me anymore, since we're grown-ups and we don't need them, and I don't think either of us talks to them. They haven't made any attempts to contact me in the past 3 years, and neither have I tried to speak to them. They did not congratulate me when I got engaged and posted about it, and neither were they invited to my wedding, and I'm fine with it. A couple of years ago, this would have hurt a lot, but now I don't care. My brother got married last year. He patched things up with his ex-fiancée, and they got married in a very small, private ceremony, from what I've heard. It was just her family and a couple of their friends and nobody else. I'm happy for them, honestly, and I'm happiest for myself because I think my life turned out way better than what I had expected. I'm no longer living for my parents. constantly trying to impress them, but only for myself. And I think that's the best decision I've ever made. Stay tuned for more stories from Our Girl Relationships.